evening. Sorry, good evening. Good morning. It's been a long day, so I apologize. Huh? I did see you the other day. Yeah, you don't have AC in your car. I'm sorry. I'm blessed. So Benny said, I get the awesome privilege and honor of speaking on probably one of my favorite Bible characters besides Jesus, which is Moses. When I get to heaven, I can't wait to meet Moses, and I tell you guys why in a minute. But Moses is a pretty cool dude. When you think of Moses, or at least when I used to think of Moses, I just thought of a dude with a long beard and a staff, and he did what God told him to do, and no complaints, and I'm going to do with the Lord, and period, and split the Red Sea, and leave it at that. But like as you guys read further into Moses, or you don't even have to do a crazy study, just at the surface level of Moses and who he is and what kind of guy he is, believe it or not, we start to get this picture throughout Exodus of a old guy who is weak, who is afraid, who is scared, and who does not want to do what God is telling him to do. So this dude who goes from being an old man with a long beard and a staff and just goes to an old man with probably a long beard and a staff and now, I imagine that'd be a little bit more dramatic than that. But before we jump into our text, which is chapter 3 and 4 of the book of Exodus, I want to give you guys a little background information on Moses and who he is. Moses was abandoned by his mother in order that he might be kept safe, that he might be kept alive. See, there was a decree that was going on by the Pharaoh to have all the newborns killed. So any midwife who would deliver a Hebrew baby was ordered, commanded, it was by law, it was a decree by the Pharaoh at the time to have every newborn boy killed. So pretty much you see a newborn babe, a little toddler, and it was only directed towards sons mostly. Midwives were said, okay, now kill that baby. But what's interesting is we know in Exodus that the midwives feared God, and a lot of the boys were kept safe from that. But Moses was one of them. But his mom realized the danger, and she sent him off pretty much to flow in the river in a basket. And he ended up on the daughter of Pharaoh's doorstep. So you have the daughter of Pharaoh, and she's like, and a cute little babe. And she basically adopts him. She takes him in, and Moses basically becomes her son. Now, the term son, back in those days, when Moses was declared to be the daughter of Pharaoh's son, the cool thing is Moses got a lot of special privileges. That includes education, which is like highly important to our text, so try and remember that. So education, so he was taught how to read, how to write, probably learned one or two different languages. So he got like pretty much some of the best private school, but it was like public back in those days. But he got the best of the best. But what's cool is that Moses never refers to the daughter of Pharaoh as mother, which is interesting. So from the end of chapter 2 to the beginning of chapter 3, we see a time gap of the life of Moses, like 40 years plus. And this is what brings us to chapter 3, starting at verse 10. But in the middle of chapter 3 and chapter 4, this is where God reveals himself to Moses. This is where God first declares, okay, Moses, you're going to do A, B, and C for me. And what's cool is the objections that Moses has, the complaints that Moses has, the excuses that Moses has, but that God pretty much gives the same answer through and through, which we're going to find out. Starting verse 10, this is God speaking, saying, come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that he may bring my people, talking about Israel, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. So at this time, God's chosen people has been enslaved for over 400 years. And finally, God has heard their affliction and said, okay, I'm going to deliver my people finally. And that's one of Moses' first calls from God is, you're going to lead my people. And so, like, what a huge calling. Like, Moses had to be terrified. And God's like, okay, I'm going to choose you to lead hundreds upon hundreds of people out of Egypt. I'm going to have you go to Pharaoh, tell him, hey, you know what? God told me to pretty much tell you to let all of his people go, period. What? And we see the following verse in verse 11. We see one of the first ways Moses tries to wiggle his way out of this. The response Moses has is, Lord, who am I? Like, I'm just this dude who, I killed a man. FYI, Moses did murder someone. I killed a man. I'm fleeing. I'm in hiding pretty much. Like, who am I to you, Lord? Then God responds in verse 12. He said, but I will be with you, and this should be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve the God on this mountain. Notice the first comfort God gives Moses. It's a promise that he what? That he's going to be with Moses. So he has this huge, hard, almost impossible task before him. And the first thing in which God says to Moses is, I'm with you. The same goes for you and I. Whenever we have a huge daunting task in front of us, we're like, this is impossible, I can't do it. The first comfort is God is with us. And that may seem very cheesy and very corny and very broad thing to say, but it's so true. Because FYI, our God's the same yesterday, today, and will be the same tomorrow. Our God never changes. He is there for his people. And we see that all the way throughout the whole Old Testament. You guys will see that. You continue to go through the Old Testament together. From Genesis all the way to the end of the Bible to Revelation, God's faithful to his people. God holds to his promise for his people. So one of the first comfort that we can get from this is God is with us. God is with Moses. But that still isn't enough for Moses. He still complains. He's like, God, okay, so I'm supposed to go to Pharaoh. What am I supposed to tell him? Like, who do I tell him sent me? Verse 14, God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. We see this exchange between Moses and God take place for the rest of chapter 3 into the first half to the second half of chapter 4. But this is where I believe is the peak and the highlight of our passage for tonight. It is that Exodus 4 verses 10 through 14. So we have Moses replying saying, God saying, okay, I want you to go to these people, tell them I am who I am. You know, Yahweh, the God of your fathers, have sent me. You know, so just let my people go. Do all this. And Moses responds in verse 9 is, Lord, I can't speak well. You know, I can't do none of this. People aren't going to listen to me. What kind of authority do I have? What kind of power do I have? And God responds. But Moses said to the Lord, Oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue. Then the Lord said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is not I the Lord? Now therefore, go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. Verse 13, but he said, talking about Moses, Oh, my Lord, please send someone else. After all the assurances that Moses gets from God, every single assurance that Moses gets from God is basically God saying, don't worry, it's in my hands. I got this all under control. But God, don't worry, I will give you the power and the word to speak. Well, God, people won't believe me. Tell them who sent you, that I sent you, that Yahweh sent you. But God, and all throughout this passage we read, God is with Moses. The assurance, the great assurance that Moses has is God is with them. The great assurance that we have through our lives when things are easy, when things are rough, when things seem impossible, is God is with us. Well, Bill, I can't do what God's calling me to do. That's a lie. You're just afraid. Well, Bill, I can't do A, B, or C, or I can't talk well, or whatever. Moses. The cool thing about Moses is, remember when I told you about his education, he basically lied to God. Well, God, I'm not really that good of a speaker or elegant in the language. No, he was raised up in the house of Pharaoh. He got the best education. He got the best teaching. So he seems almost even very highly qualified to do what God is calling him to do. The cool thing about Moses, and one of the things I love about Moses, is he was either afraid of public speaking or he had a speech impediment. I go with 2 because, he's a bit A. But, so we have all that into consideration. God says, no, Moses, shut up. I will be your mouth. I will be your tongue. I will give you the words to say. Shut up and go do it. While that might not seem comforting, doesn't that sound a lot like us? Like you sitting here tonight. God calls you to say, go show your faith. Oh, God, I can't. Or with Mission Peoria coming up next week, you're going to have to talk to little toddlers or whatever. Well, God, I don't do good with children, or I'm not good with public service or with tools with my hands. Exodus 4. Verse 11, then the Lord said to him, who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? It's not I, the Lord. No matter how many times God tells us everything is going to be all right, or everything is in the palm of his hands, in the palm of his righteous right hand, according to the book of Isaiah, we always look for the easy way out. We want to make all the money, so we go get a loan. You guys understand that when you order. Or we're just afraid of maybe a test or something, so maybe we cheat or we cut corners or whatever it may be. We always look for the easy way out. Whenever things look impossible for us, we flee. And God says, no. You couldn't be more follow from the truth. When things seem impossible, run to him. When things seem very possible and you can do it, run to him. Because God did not choose Moses because he was well certified or because he was highly educated. He was a weak and feeble man. He did not want to do what God was calling him to do. Verse 13, but he said, oh my Lord. Pretty much that's a very polite way of saying, no, I'm not doing this at all. That was Moses respectfully declining, saying, no, Lord, just please someone else. Basically, Moses saying, God, I don't want to do it. Go show your faith. God, I don't want to do it. An awesome example. One awesome example is one I shared with you guys already about school. I could have just given up and said, God, no, this is impossible. There's no way I'm going to get into master's college. And that was my mindset. I thought God was calling me, so I went to it. And by the grace of God, I got accepted. I work at Hannah Steel right now. Hannah Steel is a very hands-on factory. It's what I would call a man's job. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's someone I can picture Jack working at, I deal with tape measures and tools and saws and a whole bunch of stuff. There's a story behind that. So, I worked at Vonnie's prior to Hannah Steel for about 3 or 4 years. I was a dishwasher. That's all I knew. Amen. That's all I knew. Growing up, I played video games. Okay? I hardly went outside. I occasionally hung out with my cousin, and I hunted. But if you ask me to pick up a crescent wrench, I would look at you and be like, yeah. Is that one over there? Billy, that's a pipe wrench. Okay. Is it that one? Billy, that's a spoon. Okay. I didn't know how to read tape measure going Hannah Steel. I didn't know what a crescent wrench was. I didn't know how to use a saw. The only thing I knew and had under my belt was how to use a screwdriver. And that was far in between. But by the grace of God, I accomplished it. By the grace of God, I can read a tape measure. I know what a crescent wrench is. I can cut things with a saw. And I have... When I learned all of this, a day later, my operator looked at me and said, Billy, how did you learn all this? I'm like, I have no clue, John. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't explain it. He's like, what'd you do? I just went home and prayed, John, because I was terrified of this place. But God provided. It was a place where I believe God was calling me to be. And by the grace of God, I believe He's called me there for a little bit longer. But the point of the fact is, I can look at it and be like, well, God, I got to read a tape measure. I got to use tools. I got to learn how to read a tape measure, micrometer. Well, I can't do this, God. I'm just going to stay at Bonnie and go try to find a job somewhere easier and look for the easy way out. Go into my comfort zone. Go into Billy's little bubble and stay there and hide until, by the grace of God, possibly I get a charge and I can finally do something I really enjoy and love to do. And God said, no. I want you to Hannah Still. I want you to witness to the people who are lost and are going to hell at Hannah Still. Now go there. But God, I was like Moses, and we are all like Moses, almost every single day. But God, I can't read tape measure. Shut up. I would teach you. But God, I don't know what a crescent wrench is. Billy, shut up. I will teach you. I will guide you. Just trust me. That's all I came down to with Moses, was to trust God, to be quiet, and to know God has everything under control, period. Your parents are going through a hard time right now. God has it all under control. You may be struggling with depression or you need or something like that. Don't worry about it. Run to the Lord. Period. I finished with this. Exodus 4, verse 11 through 12 again. And the Lord said to him, Here's made man's mouth, who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind. Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth, and teach you what you shall speak. God is with you when things seem impossible. When things seem easy, God is with you. Never doubt God's presence. Never doubt the faithfulness of God for His children, for His people. God is there. Remember, like, God never moves. God never be like, oh, almost had me. Nope, almost had me. Nope, almost had me. No. It's, I'm right here. And we're the ones who just slowly enter. No, I don't want to. That seems bad. That seems icky. Next week on Mission Peoria, God might call you to do a lot of things you don't seem like you're qualified to do or able to do. If God has called you to do those things, it may seem impossible in your eyes, in humans' eyes, in Josh's eyes, or Cindy's eyes, or anyone's eyes. But through God, through Christ, those things, anything is possible. Now, I'm saying don't go in the room for that. Anything's possible with Christ and jump off. That's foolish and irresponsible. I do not advise that. But the more of the message is that when God tells you to do something, shut up and do it. Because the cool thing about it is God don't need you to do anything. God doesn't need the ability to come up here and speak to you guys. God doesn't need the ability to throw His hands up and worship Him, do anything like that. God can have a rock praise Him and shout out for joy, the gratefulness and the awesomeness of God and who He is, and do it 10 times better than little Billy can. But God just welcomes us into a relationship with Him, just saying, you know what, I don't need you, but I want you to do this. No, I really don't need you to do that. I can do it myself, but I'm going to use you as a vessel to do my will. If you look into that perspective, into the God of the universe who created everything before us, all the universe upon galaxy, each star in the sky by name, and He says, I'm going to choose Wade to play drums and to glorify me and to help glorify me on a Sunday morning. we get that privilege? So that most of the time we're like, God, that just seems, I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to do that. So you can do one of two things. You can run to Christ and seek Christ and trust Him, and when things seem impossible, when you have something before you that God has called you to do, you can run to Him, and you can seek Him, and you can hold on to Him and say, okay, Lord, I know I can do this, not because of my power or my skill, but because of you. Or you can, I'm just going to sit this one out, God. And God will respond with, okay, I really don't need you. My sovereign hand and will can take care of all of this. Period. Go ahead and sit on the sidelines. Or He will break you and mold you and force you to do it and force you to fall down before Him and to just let go and be like, okay, I finally give up, God. I do it. That's what happened to Moses. Every objection that Moses had, God replied with, well, I'm with you, but here's this. Well, God, I don't have power. Well, I'm going to give you a staff, to show my power. Well, God, I'm not a fine speaker. Well, I will be with your mouth. Well, God, I really don't want to do it. And finally, God was so angry, and we find out in that verse that he was so frustrated, he finally got Aaron to do all the speaking for him. But the interesting thing about it is not once in Scripture does it record Aaron speaking for Moses. Not once, but that he was there. The whole point? Moses was going to do it, period. But God didn't need it. So my friends, I urge you, I plead with you. God calls you to do something, do it. Shut up and do it. And trust me, when you do it, and after you do it, it will be the best and most fulfilling thing you've ever done. Why? Because you didn't do it for yourself, you didn't cut corners, but because you can have this fulfillment and know of all that you did it for Christ. You did it for the glory of God and God alone.